Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ren and today we're going to be making homemade sauerkraut. I ended up purchasing 3 of these big bad boys from my local farmer's market and I'm going to make them all into sauerkraut. Sauerkraut is one of my favorite dishes, and once you have homemade sauerkraut, you'll never go back to store-bought. And once you find out how easy it is to make, you'll definitely never buy store-bought again. So this is one I've had fermenting for about a week, a little bit over a week. As you can see, there's no mold. It's looking pretty juicy in there. I don't know if you can see, but everything looks fine. So I'm excited to try this one, but I'm more excited to get all these started. So what I've done here is, so this bowl, this whole bowl is only half of one of those cabbages, and it was sitting at about 3.5 pounds. So what you're going to want to do is you want to use 1.5 to 2 teaspoons of salt per pound of cabbage. So you want to use a sea salt or a kosher salt. I personally use Celtic salt. You want to use a salt without iodine. If you use an iodine salt, it will not work. It'll mess up the probiotics within the sauerkraut, and it'll mess up your fermentation process. One of the things I love about sauerkraut is how good it is for your gut health. So with it being fermented, it maximizes the nutrients you get from the cabbage. Sauerkraut improves gut flora. It enhances nutrient absorption, improves digestion. It'll fight harmful bacteria within your gut, and it may even reduce IBS symptoms, which is wonderful. A large portion of your immune system lives in your gut, and maintaining a balanced microbiome can help strengthen your immune system and help your body fight off anything bad. And as we all know, your gut is linked to your head, so it can also help you fight depression, which is wonderful. So let's get into how to make it. So you're going to cut up your sauerkraut, and this whole bowl was about 3 pounds. So I went ahead and I took about 6 teaspoons of Celtic salt and I threw it in my bowl. And I let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes just so the salt can kind of marinate in the cabbage. What you're going to end up forming, and I don't know if you can see that, but there is a brine in there. And that is the salt bringing all of the moisture out of your cabbage. And after you let it sit, and you don't have to let it sit, I always encourage you to do your own research when you are making sauerkraut, and you'll eventually make up your own way to do it. But you're going to start squishing it just like this, and you're going to see it become more and more watery. Most recipes, or most people, say to squish it for about 5 to 10 minutes. I had to squish this for 15 minutes because there was just so much cabbage. So I have a lot to do tonight. So then you're going to take your jar, and I don't recommend using a good jar because the jar is going to smell like sauerkraut, especially if it molds. Try not to let your sauerkraut mold. I'm going to show you how to avoid that. But yeah, you don't want a jar that smells like moldy sauerkraut. You'll have to throw it away. So we're going to go ahead. I have a canning funnel here, and we're going to transfer this into our jar. Sometimes it can be a little complicated. Now, to prevent molding, you are going to want to make sure that the liquid covers every piece of cabbage. So you don't want any cabbage sticking up out of the water. So you can let this ferment for 3 to 7 days. 5 days optimal if you're going to do that. So the longer you let it sit, the more sour it's going to be. But yeah, so if you want to let it sit 2 to 4 weeks, that's kind of the optimal time to let it sit. And that is recommended. Your 2 to 4 weeks is recommended for your full probiotic development. You can also let it sit about 6 weeks to several months. That will result in a softer texture and a deeper flavor. And then whenever you're done fermenting it, you're ready to eat it and ready to crack it open, you can just put it in the fridge and it will last for quite a long time in there. Just once again, watch for mold. Now, if you just use one little head of cabbage, you're going to notice that, like, your cabbage shrinks. Once you start your brine and you start smushing it, it shrinks. So you may have cut what you thought was going to be a full jar, and then it's not a full jar. Sometimes that happens. That's totally normal. Just expect that when you're cutting up your cabbage. I'm hoping all of this actually fits in this jar. These cabbages I got are insanely huge, so I have lots of sauerkraut. So we're gonna take something to kind of smush this down a little bit. We're starting to get there. I'm so excited to actually get to eat some of this. Homemade sauerkraut just hits different. I guess that's the word for it. It just hits different. Gonna smush down. And I'm gonna pour my juice in at the very end. So fermentation temperatures, 65 degrees to 72 degrees is kind of optimal, and you want to let it ferment in a cool, dry place, or a dark, cooler, dry place. You don't want it too hot in there. Now you want it to be the perfect temperature, because if it's anywhere from 60 to 65 degrees where you're keeping it, it will take longer to ferment. So your optimal temperature is about 65 to 72, just in a dark place. And I've almost got all of this in the jar. I cannot believe it. Oh. Be prepared to make a huge mess. That's normal too. All right. Get all of this in here. All right, we got it all in. Now we're gonna press it all down as much as we possibly can. We want all of the cabbage to be covered in that liquid brine. We do not want any cabbage sticking up. I don't know, let me see if we can get a little closer so you can see. We want all that cabbage sticking down. And you might have to work at it, that's just part of it. It's worth it though. Okay, so I think I got all my cabbage smushed down. And then you are going to want to take part of the cabbage leaf, just the outer leaf that you tore off. Make sure it's clean. I always rinse mine. I might have to step away for just a second again. Well, actually, we'll just cut this one. And you're going to want to put that on top, just to hold all of your cabbage down into that brine that we made. Okay, perfect. And if you can see, and you're not going to eat that top layer of cabbage, so it can be outside a little bit. You may notice a little bit of mold on that upper part of the cabbage. Don't worry about that. You take that out at the end and throw it away. What you don't want molding is your bottom part, which if you keep it all under the brine, it should be okay. A lot of people do use a fermentation weight. You can use, I don't like using plastic, but I know some people use like a crystal put in a plastic bag. They sell fermentation weights. So anything like that is fine in here. I don't use any kind of metal either. I honestly just put the leaf in. I check mine all the time because I get excited. So there you have it. You put your lid on it all the way. And there you have it. Homemade sauerkraut. I'm gonna let this sit for 2 to 4 weeks. I'm gonna put a date on it and just forget about it for a couple weeks. If you have any questions, make sure you comment, like, subscribe, hit the follow button, and I'll see you next time. I think next time we're gonna be doing some water bath canning ventures, so that should be interesting. I got a whole bunch of peaches today too, so we're gonna try to figure that out. I'll see you next time. Bye.